He's trying to fly. He's trying to fly. He thinks he can fly. Okay, welcome back to Malonze Productions. Sorry I'm a bit hoarse right now. My throat is really hurting me right now. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about the supposed Dragon Isle leak, right? But I'm going to be talking about what could happen from a story point. And to talk about it, I got my own living dragon right here. I still don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but if it's a girl, definitely gonna name her Chromie. If it's a boy, gonna be Geralt, like The Witcher. Anyway, so what I wanted to talk about is what are the possible storylines that could happen in the Dragon Isle expansion. I guess whatever they decided to call it, right? And there could be like several different things that could happen because we don't know who the main villain would be. Like, who would be the main villain of an expansion, or will it be like several different threats that the dragons all have to work toward? And that's what I kind of wanted to talk about. Who could be the like potential villains and antagonists for the dragons? So, first of all, who are our players? Well, obviously, we have the 5 Dragonflights, led by the 5 Dragon Aspects. Well, 4, because Rathian is not an official aspect as of yet. We have the black, green, red, bronze, and blue as the official Dragonflights. And I say official because, as we all know, there's more than just those types of dragons, right? And I'll get to that in a second. As for the dragon aspects, you have, let's see, well, if we don't have any black aspects yet, though Rathian could possibly become one this expansion. It's highly possible. The green, I believe it's one of Ysera's daughters. I don't remember what her name is, but Ysera is dead, so it's one of her daughters. I don't quite remember her name. We still have Alexstrasza, who's a badass. We have Nozdormu as the bronze. And for blue, we have Galagos, because Malagos is dead. Now, who are some other players that we could have? We could have Chromie. Chromie's a big one. Obviously, Rathian. Possibly Ebonhorn. We could even get the return of the Nether Wing Drakes. Anyone remember those? Well, yeah, because TBC Classic just came out. But if it wasn't for that, who would remember those guys, right? They haven't been relevant in the story since TBC. We should... They need to come back. Same thing with the Chromatic Dragonflight, which is another Dragonflight I'm going to be talking about soon. Now, in terms of good guys... Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. In terms of Dragonflights, we obviously have the 5 Dragonflights, right? But, you know, this is going to be the dragon, the dragon expansion. They need to go all out on the dragons. We need to have not only just the typical 5 Dragonflights, right? We got storylines between all of them, explaining what have they been doing, how are they coping with losses or whatever. Because remember, the blue Dragonflight actually disbanded. So the blue Dragonflight is actually no more, though there are still blue dragons out there. They're just scattered. Bronze Dragonflight is still doing their thing, but how are the green Dragonflight coping with the loss of Ysera? What's the red Dragonflight up to? We don't know. So, we could definitely get those storylines, but what I'm the most interested in is the expansion of Rathian's storyline. Because Rathian has been in and out of the last several expansions since Cataclysm. He was in Cataclysm. Well, obviously, that's when he was born. He helped the rogue to get his daggers to cleanse out the last remaining corrupted black dragons. Well, that we know of at least. He also, in Mista Pandaria, you see him with Anduin. They become bros. Then he was absent. He is actually the one who, helped us. Well, not helped us, but he's kind of the one who started Draenor, if you remember. It was him and Kairos who had it planned out. So because of him, we had Warlords of Draenor. Now he was supposed to show up in Warlords of Draenor, but he never did. I believe they had him originally, but then they scrapped that storyline. Same thing, he was supposed to have a little bit of a storyline in High Mountain and in Legion, and they scrapped that and put Ebonhorn instead. Now I do like the Ebonhorn storyline, and I'll talk about him in a second because he's relevant to Rathian's storyline. So we have that, but then they did bring him in Legion, I think, for a little while. There was a little bit of storyline with him. And it's just mostly been him in Battle for Azeroth trying to help us fight the Void, fight the Old Gods. That was his, like, main purpose, to defeat the Old Gods, because they're the ones who corrupted his father, right? Well, N'Zoth, who is the one who corrupted his father, is gone. Dead? Who knows? But for now, gone. So now what does he do? Well, his entire, like, archetype, he's supposed to be, rebuilding the Black Dragonflight. He's going to try to, like, bring honor back to the Black Dragonflight's name. And to do that, he actually could have Ebonhorn become his advisor. Ebonhorn is an uncorrupted Black Dragon. Now, he's still a little bit corrupted, like we saw in, I believe, Battle for Azeroth, where he was feeling the whispers and the pull of the Old God more than Rathian was. But he was still able to get out of the funk. And so we were able to save him. And same thing with Rathian. He was getting pulled too, but we were able to save him. But he's still around, so he can definitely be an advisor to Rathian, especially that he's old. He's at least 10,000 years old. Where are you going? And he has experience amongst the mortals. He is an invaluable ally to Rathian, teaching him the mindset of mortals, how to go about things. He's very wise in his years. So, definitely Rathian, Ebonhorn. What about Chromie, though? Chromie typically is just kind of like an in and out. Oh, look, here's a timey-wimey quest. Let's go with Chromie, because we don't hang out with Nozdormu for any reason. But Chromie's, iconic. She's been around since Vanilla. She had quest lines for us in Vanilla. This dude is excited. He wants to play a dragon expansion. Look at this. And so I wonder if they're actually going to add to her story at all. Like, give her, like, an actual story arc besides helping us figure out timey-wimey stuff. That's all she really does. And it's like, she's cute and she's iconic. That's really all her character is helping us with timey-wimey stuff. So it's like, how about we give her an actual, like, progressive story arc, you know what I mean? Now, that's who I can think of off the top of my bat. Oh, Galagos. Galagos hasn't been relevant for a while either. And the last we heard of him, the Blue Dragonflight has disbanded. He got a Blue Dragon girlfriend, but he also hangs out with Jaina a lot. So we could definitely get to see more of him and explore what he's doing. We could possibly get even new dragons. Now, staying relevant to the good guys, rather, I did say there are more types of dragons, because, we had the 5 main dragonflights, the official dragonflights. But what about the Netherwing Drakes? They're descendant of the Black Dragons, and we haven't heard of them since Outland. What if they come from Outland to try to seek their ancestral homeland, to see where they come from? So, we could see Netherwing dragons. Other dragons we could see are in terms of the intelligent ones, are storm dragons, like from Stormheim. Yeah, Stormheim. Those are intelligent and they speak. So what about those guys? There's also storm dragons. Now we're getting into the more primal. So these would be more neutral, right? Because these are primal dragons. We have other types of storm dragons, like the ones you fight in the Alakir dungeons, the Skywall dungeons rather. They are more primal, but they're still storm dragons. You also have the stone dragons from Deepholm. Those are more elementals rather than dragons, but they can definitely come into play because the dragons have ties to the Titans, and Titans have ties to Earthen. So definitely they can come back into play, definitely. Now, um, going back real quick because I just remembered I forgot to talk about Alexstrasza. We need to know more about Alexstrasza because we hear about her like every so often when it's like her time to shine, but we don't get, I don't think, enough of her, especially since her and Nozdormu are the last, they're the last of the original aspects because Malagos is dead, Nefarian is dead, Ysera is dead, so Alexstrasza and not Nefarian, Nozdormu are the last official aspects. So we should hear more about what they're having to go through. You know, what if this is the expansion that uh we get Murozond? Do you remember Murozond? He's Nozdormu but turned infinite. And he says, while we in the Hour of Twilight dungeon or something like that, he says, while we have defeated Murozond, I will eventually become Murozond, and that's just how the cycle goes. So, what if we get the infinite Murozond now from our Nozdormu, and then possibly a pastime Nozdormu has to come and help us? That's a possible storyline as well that we could explore when it comes to the Bronze Dragonflight. The Red Dragonflight, I don't really know what kind of storyline, because they're the dragons of life, while the green are the dragons of nature, which that kind of ties in together because, life and nature, but, all they do is, so I want to know more about Alexstrasza because we don't really get to know a lot about her. The last time she had like a major like story was like in Warcraft 2 when she was taken prisoner by the orcs. Then, we got a little bit of her in Cataclysm, but it was just her fighting Deathwing once. Then she kind of vanished for the expansion, and then she shows up at the end to help defeat him and say, okay, now we lost our powers, bye. And then since there, I think she's popped up once or twice, but hasn't really done anything. So we need more of Alexstrasza. Like, what is she going through with the death of her sister and all this other stuff, right? Yes, I'm talking about you now. No, not really. So yeah, definitely more of Alexstrasza. Now let's go to the bad dragons. Now, oh wait, real quick. We also remember how I said about primal dragons. We also have proto drakes. Proto drakes are amazing. Add proto drakes. Okay, now bad dragons. Now I already talked about bad dragon, but I already talked about a little bit of the hello there of the infinite dragonflight with Murozond. We can definitely see them come into play, try to change timelines in ways that are not favorable, and that could be where Chromie comes in, where Nozdormu comes in, possibly new dragons. I don't know. That could definitely be an enemy we can fight with the Bronze Dragonflight story, right? Like each island could possibly be for a different dragonflight. That could be their storyline. Another one is possibly uh nightmare dragons. Now we've cleansed the Emerald Nightmare in Legion when we defeated Xavius. But what if there's still pockets of it somewhere that we still need to cleanse. So that could be possibly what we could do for the green dragonflight, like the green isles, right? Like like maybe there's still pockets of them that remain. So we have, and some of them could be just corrupted. Maybe they enjoyed the temptation of power of the old gods, and that's what happened to them in the Emerald Dream. So maybe we could deal with that with the green dragonflight. Um, Oh, another dragonflight. So this could be for the black dragonflight, possibly. Actually, no, two of them could be for the black dragonflight. So with Rathian and his story and trying to figure out how to rebuild the black dragons and reclaim the honor of his father. Well, now he's gonna have to deal with the sins of his father, which one of them, and the sins of his brothers and sisters, right? Like Nefarian, Onyxia, and all the other ones. Uh, the chromatic dragonflight. You remember them from Blackwing Lair? The chromatic dragonflight, maybe there's still some left. Most of them are gone now, but what if there's still some left that were not killed off, man? They're still off somewhere with the orcs and so on. Maybe there's still orcs out there that are breeding them, like we saw in Blackwing Lair. And the old, remember the old Spire dungeon? The orcs were riding them because the Dark Horde was allied with Nefarian. So we could definitely see maybe like a offshoot of the Dark Horde. Maybe the Dark Horde comes back and they still have the chromatic dragons. Um, Hello there. Who came after the Twilight Dragons. Being a dragon expansion, there's definitely going to be hints and tips of Titan stuff, and okay. We can definitely see more Twilight Hammer and by extension Twilight Dragons. We can definitely see more of those guys. Maybe those could be for the Red Dragonflight to deal with. The Red Dragonflight can deal with all the Twilight Hammer stuff. Um, and then definitely by even more extension, Void Dragons. Now we saw those in Battle for Azeroth with the N'Zoth stuff, and we obviously got one for killing N'Zoth. So we can definitely see maybe more old god, like maybe N'Zoth is not actually dead. Maybe the other old gods are not actually dead. Like the original lore was that we just pushed them back into their prisons, right? And then they retconned it later on. Blizzard retconned it later on to say like, oh no, they're actually dead. I think that's stupid. I hate the fact that they say like, oh yeah, a couple of random mortals just killed an old god while titans couldn't without severely damaging the world and blowing themselves up and stuff. So I think they should just be pushed back, and now they're coming back, and that could lead to the next expansion, which could be the Void expansion. So definitely hints and tips, but I do not want Void. I do not want Old Gods to be the final boss. I'm kind of sick and tired of every single expansion where it focuses on one theme, and then the theme of the next expansion is what you have to deal with at the end of the first expansion, right? So that started in Mists of Pandaria. It was about Pandaren and their lore and their myths, like the Thunder King, the myths, the mythos, and all that kind of stuff. And then it ends with Garrosh and orcs, and then the next expansion is orcs, and then it ends with Legion shit, fell shit, which is the next expansion, which is all fell shit. And um, I'm just kind of sick and tired of having stuff from the next expansion being in the current expansion. Just stick to the dragon theme and just maybe have, at the most, maybe have a corrupted, very powerful Twilight Dragon, because we did get some lore in a recent expansion that the Twilight Dragons were not all wiped out, and some of them are breeding size and are breeding, so now they're creating their own flight. Maybe there could be a really powerful one out there, and he's the new Altraxian. Remember Altraxian from Dragon Soul? I am the beginning of the end. What if there's a new one out there that thinks he's the next Altraxian? He's gonna bring the hour of twilight. He's gonna do what Deathwing could not. So definitely we could have more Twilight Hammer, Twilight Dragons, Void Dragons, uh, anything like that. That could be the final outcome of the expansion, while we deal with all the other stuff as just the side story, like the plot B and C stuff, which is oh, actually no, Murozond. I completely forgot. Murozond could also be the end boss. That could be like he could be the end boss, while the other Twilight one could be a patch boss. You know, patch 10.1 or 10.2 rather. That could be the boss of that, which would be the Twilight or the Void Dragon, while the entirety of the storyline in the background, Nozdormu slowly falls into darkness, trying to defeat the Infinite, trying to focus on all this other stuff, and he just decays and turns into not Murozond. Murozond could be the final villain. That's going to be my prediction. Murozond is the final villain of the Dragon expansion. While we get the Void Dragons and all this other stuff, and the Twilight Hammer and stuff could be patches. As long as they stick to the theme, that's my biggest thing. Like I just said, as long as they stick to the theme, that's what I want to happen. No old gods, no titans, no astral shit. No Lich King 3.0 -7, nothing. Just dragons. That's all we need is dragons. So anyway, that's my prediction and what I think, what probably should in some cases happen when it comes to the story of the Dragon expansion. I don't quite remember what they called it. I know it just got announced like a couple days ago with a leak, and the leak is pretty legit looking at it. Excuse you. But yeah, definitely we'll have to see when it... Oh my gosh! Where are you going? We'll definitely have to see when it happens. So I'll see you next time.